Welcome to the speech today. I'm responsible for delivering the connected mobility projects from the off-board side, so all the cloud project in the automotive area. Connected mobility um, is, not mostly, but a big part off-board. So that's the reason why I'm covering these topics today. So first, I wanted to give you a rough overview about what I'm speaking today. First section is a little bit, voices of the industry trends. What is connected mobility for us at Luxoft, and how do we find that, and what is our vision about. Second section is our offering. So connected mobility is, as some of you might know, kind of a department in Luxoft. I will what we are doing there, what are the challenges we are addressing, and our partnerships, some of the projects and R&D activities that we did. And the last section is about the Microsoft platform, a rough overview about the architecture, how was our journey in Luxoft with MCVP so far, and a couple of benefits we see in this platform. I also have a colleague with me who might be able to answer a little bit more deep technical questions because, I'm not the expert. So, let's start with the whole, not history of connected mobility, but some of the quotes from the last 5 years I could find quickly, and how this leads to what we are doing right now. So I will not read out all the quotes. You can do that by yourself if you want. The gist of all the quotes is I want to give you, and that is that we see definitely a shift in how car manufacturers and OEMs approach their portfolio or their value add. And from a product company, basically, most of the OEMs are transforming into a product company and mobility provider. What does it mean? So they are not focusing only on developing a car that stands for itself, but they are thinking about integration into a wider ecosystem of transportation, adding new software features into the car that not directly, but sometimes do directly influence the car or the driver experience. And I think one very important topic of the whole mobility of the future is definitely the connection between cars themselves, but also between cars and the environment, cars and certain backends, cloud backends, for example, that will shape the future of mobility. So we are not only focusing on enhancing the travel, but this is an important part, but it's also how we see the vehicles or the cars as a means of transportation in the future. So I would say if you look at all the trends or the major trends in automotive, where one is maybe electricity, right, electric cars, a second one is autonomous drive, and the third one is already connected mobility in our view at least. The connected mobility part is touching all of the different other high important topics, right? Because autonomous drive is not only your private cars driving autonomously to some destination, but maybe also using driverless pods to reach your intermediate or whatever target you have or destination you have without any driver or without owning the car. So that's, I guess, a very major change of the whole automotive world, that the car is connected to a whole environment through public cloud providers or private cloud sometimes, or a mix of that. And you can see that in everywhere in the automotive industry, OEMs partnering with cloud providers to enable this kind of connected mobility backends, connected mobility features, smart assistance features. And it does not matter so much which cloud provider or which software company, but the trend is going into huge strategic partnerships with major software companies to enable these new changes. And one of a major challenge of this connection or connected mobility journey, as we call it, is the integration with other systems, right? So you can expect that it's not that easy to integrate this new technology that is provided by all these major cloud providers with the legacy systems of the car manufacturers. And one of our major task is as Luxoft, which is a service company, is to support our customers in integrating all this kind of legacy systems that are still necessary. I cannot approach that as a greenfield. All these legacy systems with new technologies like connected cars, autonomous driving, and this connectivity platforms. And what we can definitely see is that there is, and here's a quote from ourselves more or less, that there is this mobility revolution that is, how to say, driving a change in the business model away from owning a car, so ownership of a vehicle, to having access to a vehicle. And all this kind of means of transportation that are popping up since a couple of years, like, for example, Uber, or like the car sharing companies that are mostly also supported by OEMs themselves, right? The scooters and everything that is coming up in the last couple of years is enabling the end user to plan their trips and their travel without having an own device or own vehicle to travel, right? You're renting whatever you want, and that to work, you want 20, 30 different apps or whatever services. Connected mobility here is, I would say, a big part in the new business model, providing smart assistants, providing integration with mobile phones and other systems, smart cities. So the trend is going definitely in this direction. And so what does it mean, or how do we define this kind of vision and the term connected mobility is best described, I would say, in a short video that we have created for this purpose. And without a comment, I will let this play. Hopefully it works properly. And then afterwards, we dig deeper into the key challenges.
Andreas, I believe we had no video. Well, now it's now actually I can see the picture. Could you please start from the beginning?
I try something different. 1 second.
Okay.
This is a typical technique.
At least we heard the sound.
This is already great.
Yeah.
But seeing the picture would be much nicer.
Absolutely.
So give me 1 second. Need to switch that, and then it worked. We already tested that. So, no, not yet. So
yeah, sometimes it happens. We actually tested it, guys, 15 minutes ago.
we'll be back in a minute. So second try.
Okay, I can see the slide.
So can you still see the slide?
Uh,
But presenter mode, I assume. 1 second. So let me know if you can see the slide, then I will resume, try again.
yes, I can see the slide.
Okay, then final try.
No, it's white.
Interesting.
Oh, it works.
Great. So finally.
Yes, we did it.
Good. So let's continue. So what you've seen is actually our vision of connected mobility and what we try to cover in this whole environment from a technology point of view. So our service around this vision or structured around this vision. And our goal is to basically create a seamless integration between all the systems, and I count vehicles and everything outside vehicle, to improve the traveler's experience, the travel experience and the person who travels. So this means from mobile app, cloud foundation, until the smart systems functionalities inside the cars. This is what we are doing at Connected Mobility in Luxoft. But what are the key areas where we see the biggest challenges in this whole connected mobility journey, or the biggest, I would say, shifts in the industry? So first, I already mentioned that, is the change of access over ownership, right? So you have a kind of a mobility as a service ecosystem that is growing. You can see that already, as I mentioned, through Uber, for example, and voice scooters and things like that. But on top of that, we also are in the how to say, middle of the not invention, but slowly certain transportation means are popping up, and you will see that in the future, that are completely unknown yet, like, for example, drones that are transporting people from one location to the other. So if somebody has been on CES Las Vegas this year, there are already companies presenting that, but you can also find already really good solutions from companies like Volocopter in Germany, that provide drones that can bring you from the airport to the city in a very fast and quiet way. And all of the things require a very connected environment to work properly, not only for the end user, but also for the solution itself. And even due to COVID, I don't know how it's in your country, but in Germany, for example, due to COVID-19, a lot of people switched back to our own car. But before COVID, a lot of people got rid of their cars, especially in the cities, and used car sharing and Uber and services like that. Much more than compared to the past couple of years, and there's definitely a trend going in this area, and a decline in traditional private car usage. So to enable that, I think we are focusing on a lot of pieces of solutions here, on end-to-end solutions, because that will be definitely the future. The second area is that there will be a complete, vehicle-centric services needed for enable all of the features the users want. If you can imagine, you are now living a fully connected lifestyle, right? So your mobile phone is basically doing everything you need, from banking to booking parking tickets, booking cinema tickets, obviously also acting as a phone. And we expect this to be true as well for cars or vehicles in general in the future. Nobody wants to leave the connected lifestyle when he's in his car. And there will be a lot of services around the car that you cannot cover with your mobile phone, right? So you can say, yeah, why my car needs to do all of that if I have a mobile phone that can actually do it. But on the other hand, there will be use cases like usage-based insurance, for example, where you can book certain coverage, insurance coverage, whenever you need it, right? When you are traveling, and not all the time, compared to current approach. Or you might want to self-repair your car with a software update, or maybe not your car, but the car you're driving. Nobody want to do the maintenance and drive the shared car first in the workshop. Everybody expects this to work whenever I need it. Or I want to see if there's anything wrong with the car from remote. Then with all these electric cars, numbers increasing, right? We will get more charging stations. Charging stations will be connected. I can also imagine that there will be an increase of, for example, vehicle-to-grid solutions, where I can have specific charging contracts with my energy provider that are tailored to my needs, and so on. And one of the biggest topics that we will see in the future, already seeing right now, is the approach how data is used, data monetization and data management. Because what you have in a car is a very powerful sensor, or a couple of powerful sensors, right? You have cameras there, you have radar, LiDAR sensors for different use cases. And GPS coordinates and temperature sensors and so on. So there will be a lot of approaches to monetize the data. Obviously, there are privacy issues, but I think there's a lot of use cases that don't violate privacy that can be very beneficial. And this is where car manufacturers and service companies can add a lot of value in the next years to the whole discussion and to the solutions, because the opportunities are only increasing. And if you, for example, look at 5G, which is definitely very powerful technology that is even making the whole connected mobility topic even stronger and accelerate that. But also there there will be limits, right? There's so much data produced by one car in a couple of seconds that even with a 5G network, you cannot simply transmit all the raw data in the backend. So there's a huge opportunity for edge processing, intelligent modeling inside the car. Very powerful computers inside the car are already able to do a lot of processing right now. But this will even be more important in the future. So there will be a whole change how car manufacturers, dealerships, and service stations around vehicles will approach the topics of connected mobility. And I would say this is a very big disruption of the whole automotive industry, and we are only at the beginning, even considering that this topic is not new, right? Connected mobility, smart assistants, and all this kind of things are discussed for a couple of years now. Okay, so this is about the more or less industry trends around connected mobility, and this is leading us to connected mobility at Luxoft and what we as a department are offering for our customers. And I would say, considering all these new challenges ahead, this is very exciting and interesting area in the automotive industry, because it's not only also automotive, it touches so many other industries that we are, how to say, covering a very broad sense of topics. So we have this kind of fancy cube here to demonstrate what we are actually doing, but the 5 topics here are the 5 topics around this cube are actually describing this a little bit better. So we're clustering first a couple of topics under smart mobility solutions. So this means all this integration of the mobile life with the car or with the cloud, enhance the whole data collection topic to give customers, and in this case it's OEMs, tier ones, better insight in what is going on in the car. Then all the smart voice assistance functionality, for example, Alexa integration, Cortana integration, and things like that. That is a very interesting area in automotive since a couple of years. Technology like blockchain, for example, getting much more, I would say, attention, especially if we are talking about integration with other providers, third-party providers like insurances and so on. And the whole car sharing and fleet management is also part of the smart mobility solutions. Then going to the lower left corner, we have the Cloud Foundation as an offering. And what we are doing there is basically supporting our customers, and here it's mostly OEMs, not so much tier ones, in setting up a cloud environment that is, how to say, able to handle the situation at our customers in terms of flexibility, compliance, scalability, obviously, but also security and so on. So to get a little bit more into detail here, for example, you can imagine that customers are spread in multiple departments. All the departments want to do something in the cloud. And if every department has their own approach, what the cloud provider should be for the solution, then there are a couple of automotive engineers setting up a cloud environment, forgetting half of the security measures. Nothing is IT compliant. So this is a situation, or was a situation a couple of years ago at many OEMs. And what we are doing is we are supporting the customers in providing an environment where they can onboard new projects according to their own IT compliance, and this as infrastructure as code, for example, right? So you can create a new cloud environment that is compliant to your standards within a couple of minutes with the press of a button, and then the project can utilize that to host whatever application they want. The smart edge solution, we also will see more about that in the MCVP part. But as I mentioned, edge will be a very interesting topic in the future, because you cannot transmit all the data to the cloud. So a lot of pre-processing, data analytics can be done at the edge. A more traditional automotive topic is the diagnostics topic. So making sure that your car works, that you service it properly, that you read out the health status of your car, and then updating, configuring it. That's traditional use cases of the diagnostic in automotive. And because of all the new changes that are coming up with connected services, smart assistants, more software components, diagnostic is one of the major areas that also need to change and adjust to this new trends. So what we are providing here is a consulting and implementation capabilities, how to build up new architecture, service-oriented architectures in the car based on high-performance computers, right? So we did this already a couple of times, and especially with one major German OEM, where we basically supported the OEM from the very beginning of this journey to the now state of implementation of this kind of service-oriented diagnostics. And yeah, last but not least, the connecting part in all of that is telematics. And we will have a speech on Friday about this topics from a colleague of mine, Kirill. He will talk more about this area, but definitely 5G and the connection to everything is handled here by us, beginning from the TCU, Telematics Control Unit, until all the 5G and V2X solutions, even with robotic mowers and not only cars. How we do that and where do we partner? So a couple of important partnerships we have in connected mobility is obviously with Microsoft Connected Vehicle Platform, where we are have been the first integration partner for Microsoft since last year, October. We're also partnering with LG in the area of WebOS, where we help them integrating this as a new operating system into the cars. And obviously with Amazon, because we are still very cloud provider independent, we're also partnering and in different areas, IoT, also with the new connected car platform they are providing. We're in discussions of new collaborations. And I think I will go into some of the projects we are doing on a very high level. Obviously, I cannot go into too much detail because that's customer related stuff. But to a certain degree, I can share some of the case studies or projects we did in the last couple of years. And you can get a better picture on what we are actually doing. So one very interesting and very early on project in this since the last couple of years is the fleet monitoring predictive maintenance platform that we implemented for a UK bus operating company. They're operating a lot of electronic buses, and we adopted very early the Amazon Greengrass to do a lot of prediction and calculation and data analytics in real time at the bus to, for example, plan better routes for electric buses to, for example, charge downhill Obviously, you cannot skip any pickup and drop-off points, but nevertheless, you can plan really intelligent routes if this is necessary. Also here, there's one cloud foundation project, or in this case, it's a combination of two in the lower part, where we implemented a lot of this foundation services, like, for example, monitoring services, account inflation services, to enable what I mentioned before, that cloud provider OEMs can utilize the cloud according to their compliance most efficiently, sharing one cloud subscription between a lot of projects, making sure that the billing is done properly to this kind of projects, and ramping up infrastructure as a code, safe and secure in a couple of minutes. This is a lot of work. Definitely, you don't get it out of the box with any cloud provider, and there's a lot of customization to be done to make this work smoothly and according to the OEM's IT security guidelines and compliance and so on. In the smart mobility area, we had very interesting projects with South German OEM, where we helped them implement a couple of smart assistance functionalities end to end. So we had a couple of feature teams implementing mobile applications in Android and iOS, the Azure backend, and the in-vehicle part of smart assistants, like Alexa voice integration, like weather notifications, automatic window openers, things like that. So these are definitely, or this was definitely a very interesting project in the last couple of years. Telematics, I will not go so much into it because there's the Friday speech, as I mentioned. I think one of the interesting projects was here with an agricultural company where we implemented an IoT Edge gateway for a robotic mower, so that the user can basically control and remote control the robotic mower from everywhere in the world where he has internet connection. So you see, we're not only touching the pure automotive customer base, agricultural, bus companies, truck companies, all of that are part of our customers base. In the diagnostics area, I already mentioned one case study for a German OEM, where we really supported from the beginning in designing the new architecture based on high performance computer for diagnostics. So there are a couple of other services, but the service-oriented diagnostic feature was basically supported by Luxoft. And that's a pretty interesting journey. And I would say there's still a lot of challenges for OEMs to make this work properly with all the legacy systems and with the legacy processes, but definitely necessary journey for everybody. Otherwise, you will fail as soon as the first car is on the road with all these new components and not working properly, and you have to repair it. Only to compare, Tesla has a much easier time here because obviously they have no legacy systems, right? They have started in a green field and they are ignoring a lot of legislation, I would say. So in terms of diagnostics, the traditional OEMs have a lot of challenges here. Good, and I would say now to a little bit more interesting part. Luxoft as a service company is usually not producing any products or selling any products. We have a couple of them, but R&D nevertheless is a very important topic for us in connected mobility, because we have to be familiar with state-of-the-art technology to a certain degree to enable or to provide the services to our customers. So we are always trying to pick certain important areas, and where even when we don't have any project, we try to make our own experiences. Sometimes there's R&D out of projects or from related to project, but most of them are basically implementations of trends or technology. We are really thinking about being part of the future of mobility. So one, it looks maybe a little bit ugly here, but please remember that's R&D and proof of concept. So one important technology that we are investigating is Microsoft Cognitive Services. And we picked one use case, that's the machine translation service that is provided by Microsoft. And we implemented mobile application, web application, and a document translator based on this technology. And now you will say, yeah, I can also go to Google Translate, is doing the same thing. Yes, but not really. So what we are able to do is basically integrate a terms database that is using special terms and having own translation for that. Because as a OEM, for example, you're operating all over the world, right? Your workshops are all over the world. You have your diagnostic guidelines, your fixing instructions, and so on. And you also want to make sure that this is understood everywhere the same way. So you also have own terms about for your own products, right? So there are certain technical terms that is not public knowledge, and you want that this is translated properly everywhere, and Google Translate or Bing or whatever that it's not doing that. So what we did is basically implemented UI, integrated that with customers, in this case customers backend and terms database, and made this available. And on top of that, we implemented a scalable document translation feature that is splitting up documents and translating it in chunks and then putting it back again. And this is working really cool. You don't even use formatting in PowerPoint slides and things like that. So this is definitely a very interesting area. Then a second one that finished beginning of this year was a mobile proof of concept that actually was not only mobile, but we wanted to implement a car sharing application with basically platform independent language. So we often have the use case that customers want to provide iOS and Android app for their customers, right? So you don't know as a car manufacturer what mobile phone your customers have. So you always have to implement the app for both systems. And we investigated Flutter here to implement this app only once, and tried out what kind of a limitation the solution has in the context of automotive. And this worked very well. The only challenge we had is that we could not test the app with proper fleet that is providing geofencing data and, for example, sending events to the app that we want to show. So we additionally implemented a telemetry simulator that was able to simulate a whole fleet. So you can define, for example, routes that single cars will drive, and on certain points they can send certain telemetry data like fuel level and error codes and things like that. And so we were able to configure our own test fleet, basically that was usable in the app later on to share between people and send real messages. The next definitely very important POC or R&D activity activity we did for the Microsoft partnership. To become Microsoft Connected Vehicle partner, we had to implement certain automotive use cases with MCVP. And what we did is basically implementing this kind of remote control features like lock, unlock the car. We had a diagnostic trouble code reading and fixing use case implemented with MCVP, a speech assistant and a chatbot. So you could write the messages to your car, and it was, for example, activating fog lights and open the door and things like that. This was basically an application to test capabilities of MCVP and our understanding of it. The next evolution of this was then for a demo we did on the CES Las Vegas this year in January, where we implemented a remote update use case with 2 ECUs and the connection to MCVP. And we had a touch screen where you could change the fan speed of a virtual or basically fake air condition, creating an issue, an error, and what we did is send back the error code. Then in the cloud, in MCVP, we detected a fix for that and sent back the software update for the air condition, and then the bug was fixed. Was a pretty interesting demo, especially setting up a real cloud connection on an exhibition like CES was a fun challenge. Yeah, that was the basic architecture, but we are seeing that a little bit later also in our MCVP part. Yeah, that was the part about connected mobility, what we are doing, what our offering is. And now I want to give you a short overview about the Microsoft Connected Vehicle platform, starting with our challenge, our journey in this whole MCVP topic. As I mentioned, we started with implementing a lot of connected services. And because of that, we had interesting discussion with Microsoft at the CES Las Vegas 2019. Last year, we then passed this challenge of implementing automotive use cases and got certified partner at end of last year, announcing that on CES 2020 this year. And then we already kicked off the first project using MCVP with a big OEM alliance beginning of this year in March, where we're supporting still Microsoft to integrate MCVP with all the legacy systems of this OEM alliance. That's yeah, some colleagues call it a mix of software archaeology and yeah, new technology implementation. But I think that's the reality in a lot of our project, that there is legacy code, there's legacy applications, and we need to find a smart way how to integrate both of them to make a solution better or even possible. And we recently kicked off a couple of new R&D streams for Microsoft IoT Edge, AWS, edge solutions in a diagnostic environment, MCVP reference architecture, and a couple of MCVP project accelerators that can be reused in the future. So this is about the Luxoft story, and now a little bit more information about what is MCVP actually. And I will use a little bit material here from Microsoft and go very high level about what this platform provides. First of all, obviously you will not get a whole connected vehicle platform out of the box that any OEM can use as it is. That's also not the goal. I think no OEM would like to use that. You get foundation services or foundation and a framework or a blueprint how a connected vehicle platform should be built, and then you can extend from there and integrate with whatever systems you have and want. So what do you get? You get ability to register vehicles in the system, right? Vehicle provisioning is one very important area in any connected vehicle platform, any vehicle backends. You need to make a car registered there, and you can also register devices inside the car. You need to have a possibility to add extensions, right? Integrate with other software products you have, with other systems outside of your company. And MCVP is definitely providing a lot of interfaces to do that. Then you need to have a secure way to handle service subscriptions communication. You have a claims provider in MCVP that is allowing you to do that. You have an already defined way of communication where you can hook at any time into it and do whatever you want with those messages. But the whole communication point is already handled by MCVP from the car and to the car. You have ability to put on top of all of that your own portals, your own connection with the phone, notification services, things like that. There are connection points to do that. And yeah, obviously very important, you need to monitor all of that. So operational monitoring and alerting from the platform, that's a very important features you get already out of the box, with possibilities to customize it. And if we now look into the high level, very high level architecture of MCVP, and I'm sorry for the bad image quality, but that's everything I could get so far. And you have, if you look into, let me see if I can annotate something. Where is the spotlight? Yeah. You have in the lower area, you have the MCVP telematic capabilities, and here you have all the components we just talked about. So you have a possibility to provision your vehicle, and with a command processor, you can, for example, send certain commands from the backend to a specific vehicle or to a fleet of vehicles. And the telemetry processor is able to is providing an interface for your own code to hook into messages received from the car and forward, for example, information to analytics platform, to any pipeline, or to react on certain messages, send back commands, or handle this information, send it to a mobile phone, things like that. So what you're doing is actually you're writing a method, a piece of code with certain keywords you want to listen for, register that in the telemetry processor, and whenever a car is sending this message on this telemetry processor you have written, gets the information and is executing whatever you want there. Then you have extensible layer where you can use, for example, an analytics capabilities provided by, for example, Azure platform already. You have the claims provider and so on, but you can also add other custom services, whatever you want. Then in the next layer, you can see that certain amount of standard apps you have, but you can also integrate connections, or you can build connections, integrate third-party systems, for example, insurance companies, smart city stuff, weather or parking systems. So if you want to get information or send information to any third party, you can do that as well. And yeah, in the gray area on top of that, you have a lot of your legacy on-prem or whatever systems you run in your company and you can also integrate with them. Obviously, for a lot of yeah, data you don't want to host in the cloud as an OEM, there are still a couple of limitations about, for example, user data. There's certain private informations. You also need to take care of local legislation about that. All this kind of possibilities you have with MCVP to integrate properly into it. So especially, I would say this lower part here, this area, is something where you get a really interesting blueprint to build a non-monolithic application by yourself using this framework of MCVP. And that is also the major benefit, I would say. So coming to that, I think here's only what I just mentioned, all the different components. If you're talking now about the key benefits of MCVP, I just mentioned you get a blueprint for a platform that is definitely non-monolithic. So you have a kind of microservice architecture and a really good basis of adding your whatever use cases you have in this platform and integrating it with your legacy systems. You have the fundamental use cases already out of the box, right? Security, connectivity, secure connectivity, then the data injection use cases handled, and you have a lot of extension and integration capabilities. And that's I would say, if I consider the environments at OEMs nowadays, and this is, I would say, completely normal for companies that are producing cars with software already for a long time, you have a lot of legacy systems, and you can definitely integrate MCVP into legacy systems and combine basically this old applications with the new connected mobility platform. Okay, I think from my side, this was the rough overview I wanted to give, and I think we can now open to Q&A if there are any questions.
There are already 3 questions, so let me read them. Yeah, from the first one. As there are so many OMS and they have either their own cloud system or using other famous cloud system, how big is the challenge for the integrated data mining?
For the integrated data mining, so
yeah.
Again, can I view those questions
This
as
is
well?
the last one in the list.
Last one.
The third one. But actually, from the time perspective, it was the first one.
OEMs, and they have their own cloud. So the interesting part here, if the integrated data mining is obviously a big challenge, because OEMs want to own the data anyway, right? So they will not hand out the data for free. And for them, it's still a huge challenge to get a grip on all the data they could actually collect. There are very interesting concepts, especially or not in Germany, but in Europe. There is, for example, a ISO standard that is released or will be released in the future, I guess already next year, that is called extended vehicle. This standard provides a certain or mandates OEMs to provide a certain interface to the car. Right, so you will get, as a third party, you will have a standardized access to certain data that a car can provide, requiring obviously the driver or the owner to approve the connection or the sending of the data. But there will be some standardized interface to a certain amount of data. But I think every data mining or data access will be own challenge by himself, right? So OEM has pretty proprietary way of handling data, storing data, what kind of format, what kind of data they even store. So a generalized data mining will be very difficult. I completely agree. That's a huge challenge. I hope I answered the question.
Yep, so pick up the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Are the systems for finding fuel prices centralized for different OMS, like
Yes.
BMW and Audi? Audi and BMW use the same maps, HD maps.
1 second, I need to check if I can answer that. Are the system for finding? So as far as I know, they are not centralized. There might be that, for example, usually Audi or even BMW or any OEM, they're not running their own application for monitoring fuel prices. Usually they use something for certain smart assistance features. For example, they use public data sources and integrate the application with the public data source. I would say the trend is going in a direction where less proprietary data sources, also I would say smart assistance applications are always running in HMI, for example, infotainment system in the car. There's a lot of proprietary maps, as you mentioned, navigation systems and so on. I think in the future there will be a lot of more commonly used application systems here, not a lot of, not so much proprietary solutions as there are now. And I would say here at the moment we have definitely a normal integration with a public data provider. So I assume you get the same feature in different cars, or same outcome of the feature. Then what is the most exciting mobility service solution that was already released from your point of view? Or more general question. Wow, that's a really difficult question. So from what is released and we have been part of, I would say there is not so much clear mobility service solutions, but more smart assistance features. And here we have been part of a lot of very fancy smart assistance features, like I mentioned, the smart window opener, or the integration of voice assistance, speech assistance in a car. Maybe that's also a good question for Aditya. Aditya, what was the most exciting mobility service solution you have been part of?
Good question. Yeah,
I would definitely say the whole MCVP story is very very exciting, but it's not released right now. Also, the whole new diagnostic solutions are pretty challenging and interesting journey, but they will come out not before 2025, I would say. So difficult to answer.
I mean, there were interesting stuff on the personal assistant front, but does that really count as a mobility service?
Yeah, it counts, I would say.
I mean, to be able to predict that there is a forecasted weather warning, and then to notify the users that they need to ensure their vehicles are parked relatively safely, and if it's like a cyclone or a storm, or if you're driving to a particular destination where there is a forecast, then to basically intelligently calculate that as you're driving. So these were interesting.
Yeah. Also, if you have driving a convertible, we implemented features, for example, that notify the user that it starts to rain, and if he want to close his roof, or yeah, basically close the car and things like that. That pretty exciting stuff. I also like the discussion we had with a Russian company about implementing a new platform with a lot of features that are not, yeah, not allowed in Germany, but in Russia, I think you can do a lot of more things. For example, yeah, tracking certain behavior, predicting driving behavior, like, okay, you always drive at the same time to a certain destination. Do you want to combine that with certain other activities, things like that? So the whole predictive side, I would say, is very interesting, but not yet released. Good. Then question, can a car register other vehicles approaching the corner, still not visible? That's definitely something. So you're talking about, for example, some safety features. At the moment, this is definitely in consideration, especially in the whole autonomous drive story. But as soon as you look into certain solutions, like in BMW, for example, you have already some connected drive capabilities. This could work already there, but it does not help if you only can detect BMWs around the corner, right? So I think with the introduction of 5G and smart cities, this will be definitely possible. And that's topics that are researched at the moment. So, for example, there are a lot of 5G smart city test facilities in China and Germany also, and these are features that is worked on. At the moment, there's not, to my knowledge, cars that can detect that, except of some autonomous cars, perhaps. Then another question. For the V2X communication, mainly V2V, e.g. car to car, it is also expected to have a direct communication or communication via cloud in case of driver monitoring systems. Some data must be sent to the cars in the nearby environment, e.g. sleeping driver. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the next next important challenge. So I would say most OEMs are working at the moment to get their cars ready for this kind of communication, but the focus is mostly on the car to cloud communication. Sorry, voice is a little bit dry now. Most OEMs are working on this communication first, but for having a lot of this kind of assistance features, like you mentioned, notifying other cars because there's a traffic jam, for example, or cars are slowing down, and you can pass this information to the whole number of cars behind you. This is definitely necessary in the future, and that's the next challenge the OEMs working on. Most of the discussed features are already implemented in OEM's proprietary software and works pretty well to a certain degree, yes. What are the benefits of MCVP for well-known vehicle manufacturers, maybe? A good point. So I think every bigger OEM has their own cloud backend where they store the data and do something with the data. And I would say working pretty well is maybe a little bit exaggerated. The big benefit of MCVP, I would say, is that you have this kind of blueprint of a non-monolithic application. And when we look into OEMs backends, that's usually how can I express that politely? It's a grown architecture from with a lot of legacy that is not working pretty well. And I would say monolithic is maybe not always the right word, but there are certain features that are implemented better in MCVP, and you don't need to take care of that again. You have a certain standard, right? So that's the same with every standard that there is. You can find people who are used to these patterns and can implement features a lot better than if you throw them into a proprietary environment. So there are certain benefits of having a kind of a framework that is
Yeah, I can also pitch it a bit. So, I mean, as you've already said, the OEMs are essentially car manufacturers and not software units. Yeah, and their main job is building cars. So this whole problem of scaling out in today's connected world is not something that the OEMs need to invest in again to reinvent the wheel, and that's already very well managed by cloud providers like Microsoft. And so the whole task of being able to scale out, providing the basic services that all the OEMs need to solve problems about security, connectivity, uploading telemetry, and all such things. And uh, Microsoft, as a software company, is good at doing these things. So that's where MCVP brings in the value of providing these services that are not traditionally automotive related problems, so that the OEMs then can really focus on their core competence.
Yeah. You also need to think. So if I, for example, look into or look at one OEM where we had this kind of experience recently, their whole backend was supposed to work properly for a couple of thousand cars, and they already exceeded. And they used a data center to power all their smart assistance functionalities and so on. Right? It was completely not able to scale to the actual requirement of the fleet they already sold, and it's they challenged they had a lot of challenges in making this available in other countries properly, in scaling up to a bigger fleet. And I think that's one of the bigger benefits. If you use a platform like MCVP with a certain public cloud provider, you get their location specific network as well, right? You can handle all the balancing across continents, and you have a data ingestion process that is usually much better than what you can provide by yourself. So I think there are still, in the major OEMs, there are still use cases where MCVP can be a big benefit. That is also visible in what kind of customers we are approaching and where we are planning to work with in the future. So it's not like something for small or new OEMs. It's really also interesting for the big players. But I definitely think it's much more effort for them to integrate or shift to a new platform because they have already so much services implemented. Okay, I think that were all of the questions.
Yes, looks like this is it. And we are just a little bit out of timing, but the questions were really, really good. So, guys, thank you
Yep.
for sending that, because I believe the discussion was really kind
Mhm.
of deep dive one, right?
I'm just reading names. Thank you, Ruben, for joining. Nice to see you.
Yeah, there were some our colleagues on the call.
Yeah, and some of my ex-colleagues as well.
Wow, cool. That's very,
Great to
very
see.
nice. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So, yeah, guys, thank you for super great presentation. It was really nice. And guys who are listening to the talk, thank you for joining.
Yep.
Hope to see you tomorrow because we will be talking about another very niche and interesting thing in the automotive industry, which is AutoSAR, AutoSAR adaptive, to
Hmm.
be precise. So thank you so much. As I said yesterday, we are recording all the sessions and we'll upload them on YouTube, and you'll receive next week. You'll receive follow-up email with all the recordings, so you'll be able to watch it again and enjoy it one more time.
Great.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, and have a
Yep.
nice maybe morning, day, or evening,
Yeah,
wherever
depend.
you are. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and have a great evening day. Yep. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Alicia, for
Yeah.
helping out.
Yeah. Have a good one. Bye bye.